Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel Made by BJax. I'm Brittany Jackson and today I'm going to show you how to make this super cute, fun, fruity pebble looking granny square bralette or crop top, whatever you want to call it. I've made a few versions of this top through my trial and error process, and I have a few things that I want to share with you. But I also made a size for my mom, who is a 36 triple D, and it looked great on her. She loved it. Here's a quick look at all the materials I used to make this project. Normally this Lily Sugar and Cream yarn requires a 5mm hook, but I'm using this 3.75 only because I like to have a lot of tension in my granny squares, and this lets me relax my hand a little bit more. Before we get started, I'm going to show you my planning process that I do on my iPad using the app Crochet. I'm also going to be referencing this drawing a few times throughout this tutorial. I did not draw all of these squares individually. I just drew one of them and then duplicated it and changed the colors for every square. And as you can see here, like, all of them drop down and have every row for every color separated for me to easily change the colors. So the first thing we need to do is determine if we need 4 or 5 squares for our torso section. We'll have to make a swatch to see how wide one of these squares are, because in one of my trial and errors I added 5 squares and they were a bit too close together. So the next ones that I made only had 4 squares. So to determine how many squares you need, you'll need 2 measurements. The first one is going to be your under bust measurement. Mine measures out to be 30 inches. And then you'll need half of your bust measurement. So mine is 34, so half of that is 17. Just as a heads up to know what's ahead for the rest of this tutorial, I'm first going to start with demonstrating how to do a solid color granny square, which is going to be my swatch to measure if I need 4 or 5 squares. Next, I demonstrate 2 color changing methods. The first one is the weave in as you go, and then the second one is the magic knot, which is the fastest way to change color in my opinion, and it's pretty cool. Then I demonstrate my joining method for joining the squares. That is join as you go, and that's also the fastest way to join squares together. And then I show you how to do the border around the entire torso. After that, I show you how to construct the bra cups based on your measurements. And then finally, I show how to do the straps. So let's go ahead and get started. Going back to Granny Square 101, this is going to be a little bit more fast-paced than other tutorials. So getting started with a slip knot, insert your hook, and then chain 4. Slip stitch into the very first chain that you made. This creates a little ring shape that we will be working into. Next, chain 3, this counts as a double crochet. Then double crochet 2 times into the ring. Chain 2. Double crochet 3 more times into the ring. Chain 2, 3 more double crochet into the ring. Chain 2, 3 more double crochet into the ring. And then end with a chain 2. Here are our first 3 chains we made. We're going to slip stitch into the top of that 3rd chain. And that completes row 1 of our granny square. To begin row 2, chain up 3. This counts as a double crochet. Double crochet 2 more times into this same corner space. Leave 3 double crochet into the next chain 2 space. Chain 2, 3 more double crochet into the same chain 2 space. This is creating our corner. We're going to be repeating this process every time we're creating a corner. So again, in the next chain 2 space, leave 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Again, in the next chain 2 space, leave 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 more double crochet. We've approached the first chain 2 space we started at, so all we have to do here is leave 3 more double crochet. Chain 2, slip stitch into the 3rd chain that we started with. That completes row 2 of our granny square. For the next row, chain up 3, leave 2 double crochet into that same chain 2 space. Next, we're going to leave 3 double crochet in between this gap. Next, we're going to do a corner in this chain 2 space. So that's 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, all into that same chain 2 space. Basically, the rest of this is a repeat, so we're going to leave 3 double crochet in between this gap, and then we're going to follow that up with another corner. So that's going to be 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 more double crochet, all into that same chain 2 space. I've approached the chain 2 space where we started at, so all I have to do is leave 3 double crochet into this space and then a chain 2. Then I'm going to slip stitch into that 3rd chain that we started with. So after doing our 3rd row, hopefully you guys get the memo of this. It's pretty repetitive and easy, so I'm just going to go ahead and speed up the footage for this 4th row, and then I'm going to measure how wide that 4th row is to see what my gauge is looking like, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. I just finished my 4th row. As you can see, it's measuring out to be 5 inches wide. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more row to see how wide that's going to be for me. Here's what my 5th row looked like. As you can see, it measured out to be 6 inches wide. I'm going to go ahead and unravel this granny square so that I can get back down to row 1 and demonstrate my color changing process. If you're not doing a color change, then you can jump ahead to how I join my squares together. So I'm back down to row 1, and all I'm going to do is demonstrate how I weave in this tail for this row. So I just go ahead and cut off my yarn and just pull it through completely. Next, with my tapestry needle, I just go through the back and weave this tail in until I get to the center. After weaving my tail through a few times, I go ahead and cut that string off, but I leave the original tail just so I know which side of my square is the back side. I'm going to demonstrate the weave as you go method one more time for this next row. So starting with any corner that you would like, making sure that the front is facing up and the tail is in the back, you're going to start with a standing double crochet. So that is creating a slip knot, inserting your hook, and with that slip knot you're going to prepare for a double crochet. So yarn over, I'm holding it down with my index finger, insert your hook into the front of one of these corners, pull up a loop and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops, and now you have a standing double crochet. This is the stitch that we are going to end with whenever we slip stitch to finish this row. So leave 2 more double crochet into this corner and continue making your square like normal. I'm going to speed up the footage for the rest of this row, but I'll slow down and meet you towards the end to show you how I finish this row off. Right now I'm leaving my last 3 double crochet into the same corner space where we started. All I have left is to chain 2, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this standing double crochet that we started with. Chain 1 and pull your yarn through and go ahead and cut your yarn. I actually should have cut it the same length as the first tail so that I didn't waste any yarn, but we learn from our mistakes. Next, I'm going to quickly demonstrate how I sew in these ends. You can either just tie a knot together and just cut them off, or you can sew them both in at the same time. But basically, I'm going through the back side, weaving them in through the tops of these double crochets, and then reaching to the bottom, going around the corner a few times, and yeah. I'm going to demonstrate the standing double crochet one more time for the next row just so I can attach my color, but by the time I get to the end of this next row, I'm going to demonstrate the magic knot. So again, pick any corner you want to start at, just make sure you're working with the front facing up and create a slip knot. Insert your hook and prepare for a double crochet. So yarn over, hold down that yarn with your index finger and insert your hook into one of these corners. Pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. There's your standing double crochet. Leave 2 more double crochet into this corner space and continue your row like normal. I'm going to go ahead and speed up the footage for the rest of this row and slow down towards the end so that I can show you the magic knot. I've reached the end of my row here and I'm leaving my last 3 double crochet, but I'm not doing the chain 2 yet. I have to attach my yarn before we chain 2 and cut it off. Before I demonstrate the magic knot, I'm going to show you the video where I learned how to do it myself. It is so straightforward, so check her out. I love how she aggressively tests the strength of this knot. It is true, it is very strong. So you can either watch how she does it or you can watch how I do it, but I just go ahead and leave a few inches for my tail before chaining 2. And I take my new color, put it underneath. I take my new color, wrap it over the top of that first string, and then back underneath both strings. And then I'm going to tie a knot with that same color. After you've tied your first knot, you can actually move that string down if you need to. With our other string, which is the old color, we're going to bring it over the top of our new string, then back under both of the strings. And then we're going to tie a knot in that same color. One thing I learned after doing this so many times is that wherever you leave your knot on the second string, the old color, that's exactly where the color change is going to happen. So make sure you're aware of how far down that knot is on your tail. After you have pulled your knots together, go ahead and cut off the tails super short. Don't worry, this knot is not going to come undone. You can test it out. Now we can continue our granny square like normal. So finish your chain 2, slip stitch into the top of this first stitch we made. And then begin your next row just like normal. So I'm going to chain up 3. As you can see, that very first chain is orange and the rest of them are purple. I personally do not mind that. I kind of like the little freckles of color carrying over into the next row. I think it adds like a fun, flavorful like mix to the look, but you know, there are some people that are a little OCD and they don't want any of their colors to collide with the next row, so that's what that first weave in as you go method is for. So I'm going to speed up the footage for the rest of this row and I'm going to show you the magic knot one more time. I just left my last 3 double crochet, but I'm not chaining 2 yet. I'm going to cut off my old yarn and then bring in my new color. Taking that new color, I'm going to wrap it over the top string, bring it back under both strings, and then tie a knot with that same color yarn. With my other string, which is the old color, I'm going to bring it over the top of this other yarn, and then wrap it underneath both strings. And then I'm going to tie a knot in that same color. Pull your knots together and then cut off your tails. From here you can finish your granny square just like normal. I'm going to finish the rest of this row off camera, but I'll meet you at the end so that I can show you how to weave in this very last tail. So I actually like to begin with the front facing up, and I just feed my tapestry needle in and out through the top of these 3 double crochet, and then I turn it around. Then I go along the back side of this last double crochet, and then I feed it through the corner stitches back and forth a few times to anchor it in without altering the shape of my square until I feel like it's secure. After that, I just cut the rest of the yarn off, and then it's ready for another square to be connected to it. So I'm about to demonstrate how to join our squares together as we go along the side here, but before we can get to that part, you have to finish your first 4 rows or your first 3 rows, whichever one you're doing. Basically, whatever your last row is going to be is the row that we're going to join together. So here I am, I'm almost done with my 4th row. I've already done my magic knot. I just have to finish this row off completely. What I'll end up doing is one side of this square before we start connecting it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish one side of this granny square. I've approached my chain 2 corner space right here, and what I'm going to do is leave my first 3 double crochet, chain 1, and then remove your hook. Insert your hook into the corner of the other granny square, and then reinsert your hook into your string. And then chain 1, and then leave your last 3 double crochet into the same corner space. You're going to remove your hook again, and then reinsert it into your other granny square into that gap. Pull that yarn back through and chain 1. Leave your next 3 double crochet into the next gap. Again, remove your hook, reinsert it into the top of the other granny square, latch your yarn back on, and chain 1. Repeat this process 2 more times, and I'll meet you towards the end to show you how we link the corners. I've approached the corner spaces, so what I'm going to do is leave 3 double crochet into that corner space, and then I'm going to chain 1. After you've chained 1, go ahead and remove your hook, insert it into the corner space of the other square, and chain 1 again, and then leave your last 3 double crochet into that same corner space. Now you can finish your row just like normal and weave in your tail whenever you're done. You're going to repeat this joining method for all of your squares. After you've finished all of your squares and have joined them together, it's time for us to begin working on the border. To begin, I insert my hook into one of these far corner spaces and pull my yarn completely through and tie a knot. Next, I reinsert my hook into that corner space, pull up a loop and chain 1, and then I single crochet all along the side until I reach the opposite corner space. I've reached the corner space here and I'm going to leave one single crochet, chain 2, and then another single crochet into that same corner space. Single crochet into the next 15 stitches along the side of your granny square, but stop before you reach the section where both of the squares are joined. There I'm going to show you how to avoid having any dips in our border. I've reached the corner spaces that are joined together, so what I'm going to do is leave one half double crochet into this chain space, and then another half double crochet into the chain space on the other square, and then I'm going to continue my single crochet just like normal. You're going to do that every time you encounter one of these seams where the squares are joined together to avoid that dip. I'll go ahead and demonstrate one more time. So I'm leaving one half double crochet into the chain space on this square, and then another half double crochet into the chain space on the next square. I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this border off camera, but I'll meet you at the end to show you how we begin the construction of the bra cups. Here's what my border looks like whenever I was finished with it. I still have my tail down here that I need to weave in, but I'll do that at the end of this project. Next, what I need to do is get half of my bust measurement. So mine was 34 inches, so half of that is 17. So these are the 2 stitches in the center, so that's going to be my center point for me to keep track of. I know I have 1 stitch on both of these squares. So I'm holding my tape measure at about 17 inches and trying to find a symmetrical stitch for me to anchor my stitch markers into. Right now I'm finding that these 2 clusters of double crochet, which are the second clusters in the square, are the ones that are lining up for me. So that is where I'm going to insert my stitch marker, and then I'm going to double check and count those stitches apart from each other to make sure that they are the same amount of stitches. So going back to the center, I know that this stitch belongs to this side, this stitch belongs to this side, so I'm going to start there and count all the way over to my stitch marker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, blah, blah. 25 stitches is what I ended up getting. So now I need to check the other side, starting with this stitch on this orange square. I only counted 24 stitches on this side, so I moved my stitch marker over 1 space. Now that both sides are even, it's time for us to attach our yarn. Insert your hook into the stitch marker that is to the far right. Grab your yarn, pull it through that stitch completely. Here I'm going to tie a knot. Reinsert your hook into that same stitch and chain up 3. This chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Double crochet into the next stitch while also crocheting over that tail, and continue crocheting all the way down until you reach your stitch marker. Once you reach your stitch marker, go ahead and remove it and leave your last double crochet into that stitch. That completes our first row for the bust section. Now, depending on what size you are, depends on how many more rows you need to add. For example, this is the top that I made for my mom, who's a 36 triple D, and what I did is added 5 rows of double crochet, but I increased on every other row. So what I would suggest for different sizes is to add 2 rows for a C cup, 3 rows for a D cup, 4 rows for a double D, and 5 rows for a triple D, and increasing on every other row. So after you've completed all of your rows, find your center stitch, place your stitch marker, and we're going to prepare for our next row, which is going to build up one side of our bra cup. So chain up 3, turn your work over, and we're going to begin with a decrease stitch. So into this next stitch and the stitch after that, we're going to begin with a double crochet, but we're not going to finish it. So pull up a loop and pull through 2, and in the next stitch pull up a loop, pull through 2, over, pull through 3 loops. So that chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and that decrease counts as 1 double crochet. Continue double crocheting all the way down until you have about 3 stitches left, including your stitch marker. I'm towards the end here where I have 3 stitches left, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this stitch marker real quick so it's already out of my way, but I'm going to decrease into these 2 stitches and then leave a double crochet on this last stitch. So there's my decrease. Now I'm leaving 1 double crochet right here in this very last stitch. That completes my second row for the bust section, so I'm going to do another decrease for the next row. So again, chain up 3, this counts as a double crochet, turn your work over, beginning with a decrease into the next 2 stitches, continue double crocheting into every stitch all the way down until you have 3 stitches left, including the chain 3. I'm at the end of my row here and I have 3 stitches left. So I'm leaving a decrease in these 2 stitches right here and then a double crochet into that chain 3 space at the end. That completes row 3 of the bust section, so depending on your size, you'll be either decreasing on every row or every other row until you get your desired length for your bust section. For my size, I stopped here at row 11, and I'm stopping here so I can show you how to finish off the tip of this. As you can see, I have 1 double crochet, this decrease, 1 double crochet, this decrease, and then this chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, so that's only 5 stitches left. So what I do to finish this off is chain 3, turn my work over, decrease into the next 2 stitches, and now I only have 2 stitches left here, so I'm going to still decrease into them even if that's a chain 3. So this row is going to end up with having 3 stitches by the end of all these decreases. So I have those 2 decreases and this chain 3. For my last row, I'm going to chain up 3, turn my work, in these last 2 stitches, I'm going to leave a decrease. As you can see, it leaves a little bit of a boxy shape to the very tip of that, but that's okay. We're going to incorporate that into our design whenever we make our straps. Next, go ahead and fasten off your yarn. So chain 1, go ahead and pull it through and snip it off. Don't worry about how long the tail is because we're going to crochet over that whenever we're doing the border and straps. To begin working on my other bra cup, I need to turn my work over and attach my yarn here at the end of this row where the other bra cup ended. This is where I would have continued crocheting if I added more rows, so I'm just inserting my hook into that stitch, pulling my yarn completely through, and tying a knot before I get started. Reinsert your hook into that same stitch, chain up 3, which counts as a double crochet, and then begin with a decrease. This has to be symmetrical to the opposite side, so continue doing your decrease patterns just like you did on the first side. I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this side off camera since it's an exact repeat of the other side, but I'll see you whenever you're ready to do the border and the straps. Here's what the finished bust section looks like for me. All we have left to do is add the border. I'm loving the way this is looking so far. So what we're about to do is just add a bunch of single crochets. Starting all the way over here in this far corner, going all the way up. And then we're going to do the strap, come back down, all the way down this side, back up, other strap, and then back down. If you would like, you could do this continued granny pattern instead of single crochets. What I did here was added my first 3 double crochet in that first row, 3 double crochet in the next row, then I skipped the next row, and then added 3 double crochet in the next, skip, 3 double crochet in the next. So I continued that pattern all the way up to the top. And then I did 3 double crochet at the top, chain 1, did my strap, chain 1, 3 more double crochet in that same space. Go ahead and grab the yarn that you're going to use for your border. How I like to attach my yarn is inserting the hook into this far corner, pulling my yarn completely through and tying a knot. After that, I will insert my hook into the stitch beside that, pull up a loop, chain 1, and then I leave 2 single crochet on every row of these double crochet stitches. Continue leaving 2 single crochet on every row all the way up until you reach the tip, and I'll show you how to begin the straps. Right now I'm leaving my last 2 single crochet on the last double crochet row. Here's what my work looks like so far. Now it's time to make the straps. What we're going to do is chain 81. After you've chained 81, slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. If you prefer wider straps, then you can either leave single crochet or even double crochet. For my mom's top, I use double crochet stitches because she prefers wider straps. After you have worked all the way down your chain, you're going to begin working into the top of this decrease stitch. So you're going to leave 1 single crochet. And then we're going to continue our single crochet pattern like normal while trying to crochet over this tail. So I'm going to leave 2 single crochet into this double crochet stitch. And then I'm going to continue leaving 2 single crochet on every row until I reach the bottom. Right now I'm leaving my last 2 single crochet on this last row. What I'm going to do next is a decrease here on top of these double crochet stitches from the very first row that I did. So as you can see, these 2 stitches down here, I'm going to do a single crochet decrease. And then I'm going to turn my work and continue just like normal, just like I did for the first side. 2 single crochet on every row, all the way till I get to the top, and then I'm going to do my strap and then work all the way back down. I'm going to finish the rest of this row and the strap off camera, but I'll meet you towards the end so that I can show you how I finish all of this off. I'm at the end of my row here, and all I have left to do is leave these last 2 single crochet into this last row. After that, I'm going to leave a slip stitch into the corner space here, chain 1 and fasten off my work with a long enough tail for me to sew in later. All we have left to do is sew in our straps, so I'm going to go ahead and just do those off camera, and after that I'm going to make a chain of 250 for my back strap, and if you want a front strap then you can chain 150 for that one as well, and I'll show you what that looks like. Here's what everything looks like, all sewed up nice and neatly and beautiful. Here is my 250 chain strap. I'm going to go ahead and just lace that up real quick. Here's my other strap, which has 150 chains, so I'm going to lace that up starting from the bottom. And now she is officially done. I'm very happy with the result of it. It looks just like my drawing. I cannot wait to see what kind of color palettes you guys come up with. My next color palette, I'm gonna go for like autumn vibes, but tag me in your photos, let me see what you made. I'm so excited. And one more thing, of course, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please give me a like and subscribe. All right, love y'all, see y'all next time, bye!